after we figured everything out. So for me, this is one of the most important sessions. But again, I know that a lot of people, they don't even think about these things when they want to become an entrepreneur. So we'll go through everything together. But before we start, there is a workshop coming up for kids entrepreneurship from 7 to 15 years old, not by us, but a good friend of mine, Helen. She's the founder of Bees World, and they do courses for kids from 7 to 15 years old. I've been a judge and an investor at their events, and these kids are amazing. So it's not like a fun or a game. They do everything. They do their financials, they do like product prototype. We are going to be in tough competition in a couple of years because these kids are learning all of the, I was telling Helen, the things that we teach in the class, you teach the kids.
Wow.
So yeah, the competition is going to be very high soon because a lot of kids in school are getting into competition. This is another event we talked about in the last 2 weeks as well, the Global Women in Leadership Economic Forum. This is one of the best events that happen in the region. The tickets are a bit pricey compared to other events, but I mean, the people also that you meet there, they are exceptional. So we have the 20% discount. Any of you who is interested, you can get your tickets as well. Today, these are the things we're going to talk about. Your values, your why, your story, your win, your ikigai. How many of you know about ikigai? And purpose and legacy. Okay, so let's start first of all with your values. These are the things, your values are the things that you believe in them. And your life is based on these values. One thing I want you to know is that your personal values and your professional values might be different. So for example, if I ask you on the top of on your mind, what are your top 3 or 5 values? Do you know them? Can you tell me, any of you? Just shout out. What are your values? Honesty.
Helping others, giving back. And I can't name 2 others.
You have to think about it, right? Like Blanche, do you have?
These ones are top of mind.
Yeah, yeah.
I could say support,
Mm-hmm.
support to others, like to help to the people that don't have money, so raising an organization. I like to support that, and I am accountable. I am honest as well. I am
So not everything that you are as well, these are the things that you value. These are the things which are important for you in your life.
I think that when somebody needs me, I am there. I am there to
Helping others and making difference in their life, etc. Shirin, do you know?
Could it be like family? Because the first thing
Yeah.
that came to my mind was family.
Family,
Not
yeah.
so much like principles, but more family, and then a bit of self-satisfaction. Because
Yeah.
I believe when you're happy, you're able to make a bit of impact on people around you. And then eventually success. But I think family is way at the top. And that's what sometimes confuses me, because I think family and family time is very important, but also I want to be, so.
Exactly, and that's why we do all of these exercises, because especially as women, our priorities shift. As mothers, everything, and when you need to know your values, and sometimes when we don't feel good, sometimes we're doing something and it doesn't feel right. One of the reasons is that it's not in line with our values. So if we know exactly what our values are, it's like a filter that everything that we want to know, we ask ourselves, is it in line with my values or not? And I'm going to brag about knowing my values, but well, I have done all of the exercises. I have done all of the exercises, but the first time that they asked me also, I didn't know, I had to think about it. But now, after doing the exercises, I know that my top 5 values is my family, is my growth, is my well-being, is having an impact, and it's also peace, whether that's inner peace, peace in the family, peace in the region, etc., etc. So I had to think a lot about finding out these 5. But everything that I do as well, all of my activities, they're in line with these 5. I don't mind compromising on other things, but my 5 top values, I never compromise on them. And if you notice here, one of the reasons I have the roller stand, my company values, they're different. They're not necessarily the same. So it's integrity, growth is the same, impact is the same, and then there's harmony and collaboration. So when you think about values, you can think of, okay, what are Mona's values and what are Mompreneurs Middle East values. And there might be some things which are similar, but other things might be different. So to do this exercise, which helped me a lot because, as I said, after you do this, after you have it on top of your mind, it makes your decision making a lot easier later on the tasks that you choose, even partnerships that you choose. So when you have the values of your company written and they're crystal clear, you make sure that you choose partners who are also valuing collaboration, for example. They also think win-win. It's not, I'm going to take everything and I don't give back. So it helps a lot in choosing your partnerships, in taking decisions. Can you see the slides, Shirin? And yeah, let me move this. Okay. So you can now look at your assignments on the second page. You have a list of core values here that you can choose from. So what I want you to do is highlight 10 and 15 of them. You have some pens and pencils there. Just highlight 10 and 15 of these values, and then write your top 5 core values as well. And then I want you to rate yourself of how aligned is your life with your values. Because sometimes, for example, well-being is our value, but it's not necessarily living a very healthy lifestyle. Or family is our value, but we know that we are not spending as much time with our family. So it doesn't mean that all of your values, you're doing them 100% now, but these are the things which are important to you. So just go to the second page. In your core values, choose 10 to 15, and I want you to do this exercise for yourself now, not your company. You can do the same thing for your company later, but first for yourself. Does anybody want to share?
Sure, I can share. It's very funny because when I just ticked them as I went through what's important, and then when I read through them again, I feel like they're completely contradictory, kind of, because I have achievement, ambition. Do you want only the 5 or the?
No, go ahead.
So there's things like achievement, ambition, and then there's also balance, and there's also family. I feel like a lot of it is wanting to be, I guess, successful, but at the same time I want to do it in a balanced way,
Yeah.
and still give family time. So I
Well,
think
you need to attend my other workshop. You can have it all.
yeah, exactly.
That's all about that.
I think that's when maybe balance then
Yeah.
becomes one of the top 5, because I think I just have to accept that you can't do everything and that you have to really prioritize, and maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
Well, when you know what is it exactly that you want, and then you identify what does achievement mean to you. So, for example, when we were at Women SME, were you there?
Yes, first day.
Joy, when she was on the panel from Fetcher, she's a single woman, and they just raised $41 million for Series B. So now you know what is Series B mean.
Yeah.
For Series B, raising $41 million, that's a lot. It hasn't been done in this region. Usually Series B is like $5 million, maximum like 8, 9. It doesn't go beyond $10 million. So for Joy and her company, raising $41 million, and they did it through Silicon Valley, not this region. Like this region doesn't happen. So she's single, she doesn't have kids, and on the panel, she said, you know what? I am focused on my company. I cannot think of anything else. And some of the women on the panel, they were like, yes, we have the dedication, and we have the commitment as well, and we are moms, and we have a business as well. I cannot compare my company to Joy's company, who has just raised $41 million, and she wants to turn it into $1 billion company. Like, her vision is that's what success means to her. Each person is different. Is she wrong? Not at all. This is how she gets her satisfaction. I don't want a $1 billion company, right? I don't want it. I have my own vision, and after this class, I will share with you all this stuff. I know exactly what I want, and I can achieve it with all of the resources that I have to have that balance with my family, to be able to also give back, to be able to be an entrepreneur, have that freedom also. That's how I defined it. But do I want to have what Joy has in terms of business success? No. Because I know that it means I will have to compromise on my other values, which one of them is family. And I'm not willing to do that. So in the You Can Have It All workshop, that's how we define it as well. You have to identify your all for you. Joy's all is having that $1 billion company. And that's how she gets her satisfaction. Mona gets her satisfaction of like being with her kids from 4 to 8 and running her company until 4 and then working again from 8 to 10. That's how I get my satisfaction. right? It's different from you, it's different from you, it's different. There is no right or wrong. So you identify what does balance mean to you, you identify what does achievement mean to you, and you never compare it with somebody else's. Does anybody else want to share their values?
Some of them are, they can like complement each other.
Yeah?
So,
And you can put them under one group.
yeah, that's what I do.
Hello, Hadis. It's good morning. Elnaz, can you send me the PDF, please? In Wordish, qati qati shud. Hadis, you can choose these sofas or these desks. And this is your assignment. Yeah. So I'm going to give you an example. Up until the last session, one of my values was adventure. I love adventure. I love doing skydiving and firewalking and like all of these crazy. I enjoyed them. It was in one of my values. And then I realized, actually, it's not the adventure necessarily, because now with a mom of two, etc., I'm not doing that many adventurous things. What I love with all of these adventurous experiences is the growth that comes with it. So instead of putting adventure, which I love, as a value, I put growth as a value. Because growth also means that maybe I go to a yoga retreat. Maybe I go to a digital marketing retreat. It's the growth that is important to me. Even with all of those adventurous experiences, it's like stretching my abilities, mental, physical, social, all of those abilities. So yes, Asma, a lot of them fall under the same category.
I put family first,
Yeah?
obviously, because I don't necessarily say it's a value. I think it's like my blood.
Yeah.
But if I have to put it there, I put it. And then I put a group that has empathy, compassion, and generosity in one bucket. Because for me, it means the same thing. And then impact and making a difference, also in one bucket.
Yeah.
Positivity is a huge part of who I am. Not necessarily a huge part of who surrounds me, but it's important for me. And personally, I think positivity also is sometimes related to experiences and looking at the world differently, but I couldn't find anything to describe it here.
And you can always add, as I said, as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so I put another thing is reliability and trustworthiness. Very important, because most of the time, for me, it's very important that people find me reliable when I say I'm going to do something, I do it. So I stand by my word, and it's also,
And that can be integrity as well.
Yeah, so that's also integrity,
Yeah.
ethics, blah blah. And for me, another huge component is creativity. One thing that I've been looking to find, it's not, it's like honesty, but I don't mean like honesty, but like really genuine from the core.
Authentic.
Authenticity.
Authenticity.
Very important for me, because when I was when I became a senior leader, I had to pick what leadership style I was, and I did say that I'm an authentic leader. So that's something that really defines me in my.
And it makes a huge difference when you get I personally believe that it's a journey to get ourselves, to get to know ourselves, to get to know our values, to get to know what is important for us. And although sometimes there are simple steps, but they require a lot of thinking, and they change over time. As I said, my top values just changed last time, because you always figure out what is it that is important to you, and you don't compromise on them. So this is the assignment that you can always go back and work on, and do it for your organization as well. What are the values that are important to you and to your organization? Hodis, you can do this later also. So on the second page, you have a list of example of core values, and we go identify 10 or 15 of them, and then we identify top 5. And what I want you to do later also, to be very honest with yourself, but judge and rate yourself of, okay, these are my top 5 values, where am I now? And what can I do to get closer to my, closer score to number 10, for example. I gave an example of well-being. If well-being is one of my, for example, values, but I rate myself 6, what is it you can do to go closer to number 10? Yeah? So this is a very important exercise that I want you to go back and work on it again, even after this class. So identify, so next time I ask you what are your top 5 values, we don't think about it. We just know it on top of our mind. And the top 5 values of your organization as well. And as I mentioned, for Yasmin and Odis who came late, my personal values are different than my company values. 2 of them are the same and 3 of them are different. Maybe all 5 will be the same. Maybe 3 will be the same, 2 will be different. So it's really different from one person to another. Another topic that I want to talk to you about is knowing your why. And this is, again, one of the fundamental steps as entrepreneurs when we start our business, because it gets tough. For those of you who have been in business for a couple of years, you know that there are times that you're just asking yourself, why am I doing this? You know, I'm losing my sanity, I don't have that safety, I don't have the paycheck. Why am I doing this? Why do I do it to myself, right? A lot of times when it gets tough, we start questioning the whole journey of why did we even start it. And the statistics also say that 9 out of 10 businesses fail. So 9 out of 10 businesses that they start by the 3rd year, they don't exist anymore. Well, one thing they don't mention is that a lot of entrepreneurs, when they fail, they start something new. So that failure doesn't necessarily mean that they are quitting entrepreneurship, they're out of the game. They fail, they start something again. They fail, they start something again. So at least there's hope that when you become an entrepreneur, as soon as you start learning all the things, all the techniques and tactics and everything, you don't want to go back to corporate or do anything else. You actually love that freedom that comes with entrepreneurship, creating something on your own. And knowing your why is very important. How many of you have watched Simon Sinek's TED Talk? Okay. Just to prove that I didn't just pick a random TED Talk, it has 30 million views. And a 30 million view on TED is like top 10 TED Talks that you have to watch.
How do you explain when things don't go as we assume? Or better, how do you explain when others are able to achieve things that seem to defy all of the assumptions? For example, why is Apple so innovative? Year after year after year after year, they're more innovative than all their competition. And yet, they're just a computer company. They're just like everyone else. They have the same access to the same talent, the same agencies, the same consultants, the same media. Then why is it that they seem to have something different? Why is it that Martin Luther King led the civil rights movement? He wasn't the only man who suffered in a pre-civil rights America, and he certainly wasn't the only great orator of the day. Why him? And why is it that the Wright brothers were able to figure out controlled powered manned flight when there were certainly other teams who were better qualified, better funded, and they didn't achieve powered manned flight, and the Wright brothers beat them to it? There's something else at play here. About 3.5 years ago, I made a discovery, and this discovery profoundly changed my view on how I thought the world worked, and it even profoundly changed the way in which I operate in it. As it turns out, there's a pattern. As it turns out, all the great and inspiring leaders and organizations in the world, whether it's Apple or Martin Luther King or the Wright brothers, they all think, act, and communicate the exact same way, and it's the complete opposite to everyone else. All I did was codify it. And it's probably the world's simplest idea. I call it the golden circle. Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And why should anyone care? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organizations regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple because they're easy to understand and everybody gets it. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done, that's how most sales is done, and that's how most of us communicate interpersonally. We say what we do, we say how we're different or how we're better, and we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's our new law firm. We have the best lawyers with the biggest clients. We have, we always perform for our clients, do business with us. Here's our new car. It gets great gas mileage. It has, leather seats. Buy our car. But it's uninspiring. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? Totally different, right? You're ready to buy a computer from me. All I did was reverse the order of the information. What it proves to us is that people don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This explains why every single person in this room is perfectly comfortable buying a computer from Apple. But we're also perfectly comfortable buying an MP3 player from Apple, or a phone from Apple, or a DVR from Apple. But as I said before, Apple's just a computer company. There's nothing that distinguishes them structurally from any of their competitors. Their competitors are all equally qualified to make all of these products. In fact, they tried. A few years ago, Gateway came out with flat screen TVs. They're eminently qualified to make flat screen TVs. They've been making flat screen monitors for years. Nobody bought one. And Dell came out with MP3 players and PDAs. And they make great quality products, and they can make perfectly well-designed products, and nobody bought one. In fact, talking about it now, we can't even imagine buying an MP3 player from Dell. Why would you buy an MP3 player from a computer company? But we do it every day. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. The goal is not to do business with everybody who needs what you have. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe. Here's the best part. None of what I'm telling you is my opinion. It's all grounded in the tenets of biology, not psychology, biology. If you look at a cross-section of the human brain, looking from the top down, what you see is the human brain is actually broken into three major components that correlate perfectly with the golden circle. Our newest brain, our Homo sapien brain, our neocortex, corresponds with the what level. The neocortex is responsible for all of our rational and analytical thought and language. The middle two sections make up our limbic brains, and our limbic brains are responsible for all of our feelings, like trust and loyalty. It's also responsible for all human behavior, all decision-making, and it has no capacity for language. In other words, when we communicate from the outside in, yes, people can understand vast amounts of complicated information like features and benefits and facts and figures. It just doesn't drive behavior. When we communicate from the inside out, we're talking directly to the part of the brain that controls behavior, and then we allow people to rationalize it with the tangible things we say and do. This is where gut decisions come from. Sometimes you can give somebody all the facts and your figures, and they say, I know what all the facts and details say, but it just doesn't feel right. Why would we use that verb? It doesn't feel right. Because the part of the brain that controls decision-making doesn't control language. And the best we can muster up is, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. Or sometimes you say you're leading with your heart or you're leading with your soul. Well, I hate to break it to you, those aren't other body parts controlling your behavior. It's all happening here in your limbic brain, the part of the brain that controls decision-making and not language. But if you don't know why you do what you do, and people respond to why you do what you do, then how will you ever get people to vote for you or buy something from you, or more importantly, be loyal and want to be a part of what it is that you do? Again, the goal is not just to sell people who need what you have. The goal is to sell to people who believe what you believe. The goal is not just to hire people who need a job. It's to hire people who believe what you believe. I always say that, there's if you Hire people just because they can do a job, they'll work for your money. But if you hire people who believe what you believe, they work for you with blood and sweat and tears. And nowhere else is there a better example of this than with the Wright brothers. Most people don't know about Samuel Pierpont Langley. And back in the early 20th century, the pursuit of powered man flight was like the dot-com of the day. Everybody was trying it. And Samuel Pierpont Langley had what we assume to be the recipe for success. I mean, even now, you ask people, why did your product or why did your company fail? And people always give you the same permutation of the same three things. Undercapitalized, the wrong people, bad market conditions. It's always the same three things. So let's explore that. Samuel Pierpont Langley was given $50,000 by the War Department to figure out this flying machine. Money was no problem. He held a seat at Harvard and worked at the Smithsonian and was extremely well connected. He knew all the big minds of the day. He hired the best minds money could find, and the market conditions were fantastic. The New York Times followed him around everywhere, and everyone was rooting for Langley. And how come we've never heard of Samuel Pierpont Langley? A few hundred miles away in Dayton, Ohio, Orville and Wilbur Wright. They had none of what we consider to be the recipe for success. They had no money. They paid for their dream with the proceeds from their bicycle shop. Not a single person on the Wright brothers' team had a college education, not even Orville or Wilbur. And the New York Times followed them around nowhere. The difference was Orville and Wilbur were driven by a cause, by a purpose, by a belief. They believed that if they could figure out this flying machine, it'll change the course of the world. Samuel Pierpont Langley was different. He wanted to be rich, and he wanted to be famous. He was in pursuit of the result. He was in pursuit of the riches. And lo and behold, look what happened. The people who believed in the Wright brothers' dream worked with them with blood and sweat and tears. The others just worked for the paycheck. And they tell stories of how every time the Wright brothers went out, they would have to take 5 sets of parts because that's how many times they would crash before they came in for supper. And eventually, on December 17th, 1903, the Wright brothers took flight. And no one was there to even experience it. We found out about it a few days later. And further proof that Langley was motivated by the wrong thing, the day the Wright brothers took flight, he quit. He could have said, that's an amazing discovery, guys, and I will improve upon your technology. But he didn't. He wasn't first. He didn't get rich. He didn't get famous. So he quit. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And if you talk about what you believe, you will attract those who believe what you believe. Well, why is it important to attract those who believe what you believe? Something called the law of diffusion of innovation. And if you don't know the law, you definitely know the terminology. The first 2.5% of our population are our innovators. The next 13.5% of our population are our early adopters. The next 34% are your early majority, your late majority, and your laggards. The only reason these people buy touch-tone phones is because you can't buy rotary phones anymore. We all sit at various places at various times on the scale, but what the law of diffusion of innovation tells us is that if you want mass market success or mass market acceptance of an idea, you cannot have it until you achieve this tipping point between 15 and 18% market penetration, and then the system tips. And I love asking businesses, what's your conversion on new business? And they love to tell you, oh, it's about 10%, proudly. Well, you can trip over 10% of the customers. We all have about 10% who just get it. That's how we describe them, right? That's like that gut feeling, oh, they just get it. The problem is, how do you find the ones that just get it before you're doing business with them versus the ones who don't get it? So it's this here, this little gap, that you have to close, as Geoffrey Moore calls it, crossing the chasm. Because you see, the early majority will not try something until someone else has tried it first. And these guys, the innovators and the early adopters, they're comfortable making those gut decisions. They're more comfortable making those intuitive decisions that are driven by what they believe about the world and not just what product is available. These are the people who stood online for 6 hours to buy an iPhone when they first came out, when you could have just walked into the store the next week and bought one off the shelf. These are the people who spent $40,000 on flat-screen TVs when they first came out, even though the technology was substandard. And by the way, they didn't do it because the technology was so great. They did it for themselves. It's because they wanted to be first. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And what you do simply proves what you believe. In fact, people will do the things that prove what they believe. The reason that person bought the iPhone in the first 6 hours, or stood in line for 6 hours, was because of what they believed about the world and how they wanted everybody to see them. They were first. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So let me give you a famous example, a famous failure and a famous success of the law of diffusion of innovation. First, the famous failure. It's a commercial example. As we said before a second ago, the recipe for success is money and the right people and the right marketing conditions, right? You should have success then. Look at TiVo. From the time TiVo came out about 8 or 9 years ago to this current day, they are the single highest quality product on the market. Hands down, there is no dispute. They were extremely well funded. Market conditions were fantastic. I mean, we use TiVo as a verb. I like TiVo stuff on my piece of junk Time Warner DVR all the time. But TiVo is a commercial failure. They've never made money. And when they went IPO, their stock was at about $30 or $40 and then plummeted, and it's never traded above 10. In fact, I don't think it's even traded above 6, except for a couple of little spikes. Because you see, when TiVo launched their product, they told us all what they had. They said, we have a product that pauses live TV, skips commercials, rewinds live TV, and memorizes your viewing habits without you even asking. And the cynical majority said, we don't believe you, we don't need it, we don't like it, you're scaring us. What if they had said, if you're the kind of person who likes to have total control over every aspect of your life, boy, do we have a product for you. It pauses live TV, skips commercials, memorizes your viewing habits, etc., etc. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it, and what you do simply serves as the proof of what you believe. Now let me give you a successful example of the law of diffusion of innovation. In the summer of 1963, 250,000 people showed up on the Mall in Washington to hear Dr. King speak. They sent out no invitations, and there was no website to check the date. How do you do that? Well, Dr. King wasn't the only man in America who was a great orator. He wasn't the only man in America who suffered in a pre-civil rights America. In fact, some of his ideas were bad, but he had a gift. He didn't go around telling people what needed to change in America. He went around and told people what he believed. I believe, I believe, I believe, he told people. And people who believed what he believed took his cause and they made it their own, and they told people. And some of those people created structures to get the word out to even more people. And lo and behold, 250,000 people showed up on the right day, on the right time to hear him speak. How many of them showed up for him? 0. They showed up for themselves. It's what they believed about America that got them to travel on a bus for 8 hours to stand in the sun in Washington in the middle of August. It's what they believed, and it wasn't about black versus white. 25% of the audience was white. Dr. King believed that there are 2 types of laws in this world, those that are made by a higher authority and those that are made by man. And not until all the laws that are made by man are consistent with the laws that are made by the higher authority will we live in a just world. It just so happens that the civil rights movement was the perfect thing to help him bring his cause to life. We followed him not for him, but for ourselves. And by the way, he gave the I have a dream speech, not the I have a plan speech. Listen to politicians now with their comprehensive 12-point plans. They're not inspiring anybody. Because there are leaders and there are those who lead. Leaders hold a position of power or authority, but those who lead inspire us. Whether they're individuals or organizations, we follow those who lead not because we have to, but because we want to. We follow those who lead not for them, but for ourselves. And it's those who start with why that have the ability to inspire those around them or find others who inspire them. Thank you very much.
put it in one of the lessons. We put this because it's really important, and the way that he explains it. I have the book as well. So if any of you want to borrow the book, it's a very interesting book. But watch the rest of the TEDx that he has. Does it make sense? Yeah, it makes a lot of sense because I have my assignments now on my phone. Because what he said absolutely is true, that we actually, when we believe in something, when we believe on what the other company or organization is doing, we don't mind paying that extra. So I give you an example of Life and One that Hodis is teaching there as well. Well-being is one of my values. And I'm in the transition from vegetarian to vegan. So that's very important as well to me. When I go to Life and One, their cafe, it's quite expensive. Like you pay sometimes, I don't know, for example, 40 dirhams for a dessert that they have. That if I was in a Starbucks, I would probably question that why is it overpriced. When I go somewhere that I know why they are doing it, I don't question it. I don't mind paying that extra whatever on my food, and not because of the quality that I'm getting, that's one thing, but because I want to support that organization, because I believe in what they believe. So your customers, when they become your fans, they don't mind how much they spend. So when we talked about in the business model canvas, in your value propositions as well, I never want price to be the factor that you're better than your competitors, because there's always somebody who can come and beat you on price. But when you share your why with your community, nobody can beat that. And this is one of the most important steps that I want you to think about in your organization as well. It takes time. It takes time, and I promise you that. Again, I'm going to brag about our why, but it took me 6 months to have it. But we believe that empowered mothers raise empowered children who are our future leaders. And this started with like a 2-paragraph of what is it in my mind? What is it that I want to do? What legacy I want to leave behind? So everything I was just writing it and writing and writing it. Why do I do what I do? And when I joined one of the entrepreneurship programs in 2015, I actually joined the program with Momsuk, because Momsuk had a bigger market, had bigger opportunity. We started Momsuk first. Every single test that I did, every time I thought about why I do what I do, education came on the top. Empowering others came on the top. And we realized that it's actually Mompreneurs Middle East which offers all of those, and not Momsuk. I love my Pregnancy Arabia. I love the event. I had to cancel it because it wasn't in line 100% with our why. Although it was a beautiful event, it was a profitable event, I loved it in every single sense of business-wise, it wasn't in line necessarily with empowered mothers raise empowered children who are our future leaders, which was our why. So I had to even cancel some of the events. I had to cancel. So it became like a filter. Then you go through that filter. Is this in line with my why or not? And the way we do it, you all have on the 4th page now, or the 3rd page, you have a golden circle. So think about your organization. Think about why you do what you do. And then think about how you do it, and think about your what. So first start with the why. And again, I know that in the couple of minutes that you have to work on it, you will not have it finalized by the end of this session, but at least start working on it. That what is it that is important for you? What kind of a feeling you're giving to that person? How do you empower your audience? Not only why you are the best, why should they buy from you? What is that, for example, in your salon, Yasmin? When they leave, apart from having their hair beautifully done or the massage, etc., what is it? How do you want to make a difference in their life?
Woman, if they are beautiful and they're good looking, they have self-confidence.
So it goes, like, for example, self-confidence beyond just the outer beauty. And this is how it starts. You dig in, and you finalize your why. So for example, for you, Blanche, I want you to, for now, focus on your coaching. So for example, after your coaching session, why do you want to do that coaching? What is it that you want to offer to your audience? Not necessarily what you do and how you do it, but why? What is the reason that you want to do that coaching? So start thinking about your business and the reason that you want to start the business. We will talk about the social entrepreneurship later on. We fall under social entrepreneurship. You don't have to be a social entrepreneur to know your why. For example, when he talks about Harley Davidson or when he talks about Apple, these are not social entrepreneurs. But they have a strong why that people don't mind staying in a queue for hours to get their product, which is not necessarily the cheapest. And sometimes a lot of people argue that, for example, Samsung has better products. So people who are on Samsung, I don't know if any of you is on Samsung, but they do argue with you that like Samsung is way better than iPhone. So it's not only about the quality of the product as well. But when you are an Apple user, you believe in what they do, you love the product to the point that you don't mind, even if the quality is not as high as their competitors. So I want you to think about a couple of moments about your businesses and why do you want, what is the why behind your salon, Asma, which I might change it by the end of this session. But what is your why?
You want to change it.
But think about your why. And that was, as I said, it's exactly like a filter for all of the events that now we have. For example, we have, and your why is not only the financial reasons. Like, for example, we give books to the community just because we know that books empower them. We teach them about, how to listen to audiobooks, etc. These are not necessarily these are not activities that bring the financial gain, but we know that these are activities that empower mothers. So you might do a lot of things which might not bring you the money, but you know that they're in line with your why as well. Is that clear? Yeah. Is the why clear? Do you have any questions about your why? So just take a couple of moments. After you watch the TEDx talk, you can go back and again, as I said, it took me a good 6 months to finally finalize our why. But think about it, everything starts from just starting to write down everything of why do you do what you do?
What if that changes? What if, I mean, you can set your why, and at the beginning, your why is also what, why you're doing this is also why the company is doing this. But maybe later, the company needs to have the same why, but you know what I mean? You feel like it's not necessarily why you're doing it anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Your personal and professional why, you mean?
What if it starts up as being the same, and then later on it becomes different?
I think a lot of these companies didn't start, especially in corporate America. They didn't exactly start like
But then can you
Mother
change your
Teresa's.
company's why?
They started with a very opportunistic, in my opinion, corporate kind of ambition. And then as you go, if the leader has some kind of a strong vision or like a Bill Gates or like whatever, then it starts translating into it. And then the company, if they believe in it, they nurture it, and then it erupts.
Okay.
It's fantastic if you know, in my opinion, if you know your core value, why, the way that Mona is teaching us. Because you really dig in deep, it's starting from nothing. So we can, but I do believe, and especially that I know the history of a lot of these, having done a lot of, case studies, especially
You need
on
to
branding.
press that one, yes.
They didn't necessarily start
Why?
with that specific why, like Harley Davidson didn't start with the why that it's now selling to you. Sometimes it starts from some kind of oomph,
Yeah.
but we have the luxury now to brainstorm because
So,
we're starting from nothing.
exactly, like this, Simon Sinek came up with it, I think 2000 something. So it's
Now
recent.
like,
It's recent, but this is based on the research that is done. Why why do they love Apple and they don't have that kind of attachment or emotional bond with other brands? Why do people love Harley Davidson? And then he realized that it's more than just their product. It's more than just their USP. It's something beyond that. It's a promise that they're giving. It's a tribe that you're creating. And for us as entrepreneurs, as smaller businesses, for us to survive, because it is a tough game, for us to survive, if we take all of these steps, we're definitely ahead of the game. And for us as well, because it's going to get tough, when you know why you do what you do, a lot of times you stay in the game just because your why is super clear for you. For me, for example, I know it gets tough many, many times. The message that you get from one of your, for example, students, that, for example, this came to me as a miracle or this changed my life, you know that it's beyond you and yourself. The reason that you're doing it's more about your audience as well. It's more than just the value that you're adding to them. It's you, as Simon Sinek as well. People believe in your why, and they want to support you. And then later on, if it changes, like for example, now Steve Jobs passed away, so he's not with Apple anymore, but he has created that culture, which is going to remain for years. So it's also, as entrepreneurs, it's very important that we create that culture in a company that even when we are not part of the company, it stays there. And your why will also help you in the people that you hire, for example. When we were hiring at the beginning, before I know all of this, before having our why clear, I had hired, for example, a single lady. She was brilliant. I loved her. She was brilliant. But she didn't understand everything that we were doing for moms, a lot of them like free, giving them free media exposure, promoting our message. She was like, why do you do all of this, Mara? Why do you put your time to do all of this? So if the person doesn't believe in your why, then it's very difficult to motivate them as well, or to explain to them why you do what you do. So even in your hiring, when your why is super clear, it makes a lot of things easier. Even the way I introduce myself, when people say, what is Mompreneurs Middle East? I say we believe empowered mothers raise empowered children, and we empower them through entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So it happens that we empower them through entrepreneurship, but we might empower them through any other product that we come up with later on. So just to take a couple of minutes to think about it, I know this session there is a lot of digging deep into our existence and why we do what we do, but it all starts from here. So try to answer these questions. What's your purpose, your cause, your belief? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed every day? What is your driving force as well? What is your own personal driving force? And then when you inject that into your organizations, it will stay there.
And but that is that I would like to focus from now. What is the difference that will be to really succeed? That difference.
And when you find, we talked about your audience as well, like when you have the niche target audience that you will have. So you say, for example, from 40 plus who are working or not, so you know exactly who you are targeting, and you know why you want to give them that coaching. What is it that they need? After your coaching session, is it like self-acceptance? Are you motivating them to do something new? So these are all the things, and I'm going to talk about the next, let me share this with you. So our why is super clear now. Empowered mothers raise empowered children. Who are our future leaders? Vision and mission, all of you know about. So you can work on your vision and mission of your company. So for us, is a world in which mothers feel accomplished and fulfilled with their lives, and they have found harmony and feel empowered. So vision and mission is something that you need to have for your organization. Again, it takes time, but I mean, these are much simpler. Our mission is to empower mothers through entrepreneurial education and mompreneurship and guide them to find balance and success in their personal and professional life. So for us, actually, it happens that we teach entrepreneurship. What is important for a mother, for a woman to feel accomplished in life, which we believe you have it through entrepreneurship. Because when you go back to corporate, usually like the hours that you have to work, you don't have that freedom, you don't have that flexibility. But also at the same time, like if I stay at home, I'll go crazy. A lot of women, they can't be a stay-at-home. I salute, like each person is different, but there are women that they love staying at home with their kids and they enjoy it. Their persona is completely different than mine. I can't. If I stay at home for more than a couple of weeks, I'll go crazy. So, but I want to have that balance of, okay, being able to grow and create and do something professionally, at the same time have that flexibility of, if I want to go to my son's school, I don't have to tell anyone. If I want to go home at 4, I don't have to, I want that freedom as well. So for us, entrepreneurship brings that freedom and flexibility to mother's life. It happens that we teach entrepreneurship. Otherwise, our vision, our why is to empower mothers. Does that make sense? So usually your why is attached to a story. Not always.
Something you lived.
Something you experienced. It could be yourself, it could be your parents, it could be your neighbor, it could be a scene that you saw in a movie and it's, resonated with you so much that you say, oh my God, I'm going to make a change. I'm going to do something about this. So I'm going to share with you a very personal story just for you. And I didn't know all of this. I have this session in the curriculum because when we started this, I didn't know any of them. But then after working on our why and the story and values, etc., it made everything super clear of why am I doing what I am doing. So first, I don't know how many of you know, but there was the Iran-Iraq war ages ago when I was still in Iran. So I was raised in war for 8 years. So my childhood from 2 years old till 10 years old, it was in war. And as a child, you don't know the difference. because you haven't experienced anything else. For you, your reality is the life that you're living. And at that point, Iraq was the enemy. So we have, as Iranians, Iraq, they were the enemies, they were the bad guys, they were killing our brothers and sisters. This is what you see in the media, the two channels that we had at the time. You hear it from your families, from your parents. So for you, in your mind, they are the enemy. I came to Dubai many years later. I asked a beautiful girl, where are you from? And she said, Iraq. And that's when I was 18. And that immediately changed everything. I didn't need anybody to come and prove me wrong, that yes, Iraqis are good at bad. I had a living proof in front of me. Beautiful girl, such a kind heart, inside and out beautiful. And she was from the country that was supposed to be the enemy. And then I realized that, wow, we were their enemies. We were killing their brothers and sisters. We were doing the exact same thing. So they have the same perceptions about Iranians. And all of a sudden, all of the walls fell down. They were all dropped. And that's why one of the reasons I went to France to study tourism management, because I believe when you travel to other countries, when you understand their culture, when you see their beauties, then all of these stereotyping and the walls, all of a sudden they fall. And one of the best ways to bring peace to the world is just getting to know other cultures, their beautiful countries, their beautiful cities. And then when I became a mom, I realized, wow, such a big influence we are as parents to our children. So if from today I tell them this country is bad or that culture is bad, or I start labeling them as a mother, then my child will grow up with that mindset in his mind. So sometimes you don't understand, as mothers, we're raising the future leader. My sons, your kids, they could be the future president. They could be the future leader of a country, of an organization. And the mindset that they have, the decisions that they will make, it will make a huge difference in other people's life. So instead of trying to change the mindset of our current leaders, of Trumps and Ahmadinejads and all of these extremists, if we start just giving love to our own children as mothers, these future leaders, these future presidents will bring that peace to the region. So this is my story. I took you back to my childhood. I took you back to why I want to empower mothers, why empowering children is important. What does the future leaders mean? It has a story to it. Nobody can copy that story. That is what makes you authentic. So they might copy your product, they might copy your value proposition, they might copy anything. Nobody can copy your story because that's unique to you. While I don't go out talking about my story all the time, but because of that story, the way I do things are also different. So I want you to take a step back and think about, for your business, the reasons that the things that you're doing, it doesn't have to be as dramatic as me being raised in the war. It can be anything, but something that you saw somewhere, which you say, I'm going to do something about this. And that becomes your story, and that's authentic to you. So usually, again, your why, this is Simon Sinek doesn't talk about it, but after I did his golden circle and I realized, then you go back, and this comes over time to you. Now we're just talking about it. Over time, the answers will come to you as well when you have that awareness. I realized that my why is very strong for me. It's because of that. I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro in 2014 with the flag World Peace through women's empowerment. At that point in 2014, I didn't know any of these golden circles, etc. I just knew that I want to empower more women to bring peace to the region, to bring peace to our world. So it's like the pieces of puzzle, and you put them together and say, wow, this is the beautiful picture. This is the reason that I exist. And when you get to that point and say, this is the reason that I exist, it happens that it's my business as well. Then you do things differently. You don't mind being awake till 12 a.m. You don't mind working overtime. You don't feel it as a stress. You feel that you're getting closer and closer and closer to your mission. So as entrepreneurs, when you find your why, when you find your story, when you find the legacy that you want to leave behind, things will change completely when you have that clarity in your life. Again, it took me years to have all of this that now I'm sharing with you. But if you are just starting a business, or if you have been in business for a couple of years, think about from your personal experiences, what is that moment that you said, okay, this is my story and I'm going to do something about it. Could be personal, could be your parents, could be your family, could be your nation, could be anything. Is this story clear?
Very.
Yeah? Okay, let's have a quick break. All of this session is also, it might sound simple, but it's very deep, so it's going to make you think a lot. So drink more water and take it easy, but these are the things that I want you as entrepreneurs to be aware of. We have 10 minutes of break, and then we will go ahead with the other concepts. And going back to your story, let me tell you something. Your story makes you vulnerable. Sharing it makes you cringe sometimes. So I had many people in the class that they had those secret stories that they never wanted to share. But the truth of the matter was that they started their business because of that. And then when they shared it, they even cried because it was the first time that they were telling others about it. The first time I had to share my experience was on TEDx 2015. And the first time I had to actually, a couple of people knew about it, but the first time actually saying it, knowing that it's going to get recorded, etc.,
Yeah,
it makes you feel vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know, it makes you like, wow, I'm getting out of my comfort zone. But those are the stories which are really authentic to you, and those are the ones that will push you to do more in life. So think about it. I didn't know. I personally didn't know. Exactly, it's like a puzzle. We put everything together, and then you realize that all of these dots are connected when you have that awareness, when you have that knowing that there's something bigger than what we're doing now. How many of you have seen this? Win? Okay, you haven't done it. Perfect. So we're going to have fun together. This is for everything that you want to do. Whether you want to find a job, whether you want to work in corporate, whether you want to be an entrepreneur. This is for all human beings. There are 3 sections, there are 3 criteria that I want you to ask yourself. Am I passionate about these things that I'm going to do? Do I love it? Do I absolutely love it? Like when I'm sitting there working for somebody else, doing my own business, whatever that it is, do I really love it? Am I passionate about it? Am I good at it? Do I have the skills? Do I have the talent to do it well? And then is there a market for it? If you want to be an employee, well, is somebody going to hire me? Is there a need for that job? If I am an entrepreneur, do I have enough audience to turn this into a business? These are the 3 questions that I want you to ask yourself no matter what you decide to do after this class. If you are passionate about something and you're very talented as well, but there's no market for it, well, it's more of a hobby. It's more of a dream. It's good to do. You know, nobody's going to buy it from you. But like you enjoy baking and maybe you sell it to 1 or 2 people. There's not enough market. It's that 1 or 2 people probably is your neighbor and best friend and mom. There's not enough market for it. It's more of a hobby or a dream. If you're passionate about it and there is a market, but you are not talented or you don't have the skills, well, one option is to go and learn those skills. But if not, if I say I love French, and I really do, I love the language, and there's a huge market for people who want to learn French, but I don't speak French, so I can't really become a French instructor, right? It's going to be a failure unless I go and learn everything. So like if Hodis comes and say, I'm really passionate about yoga, and there's a huge market for it, but I don't know how to teach yoga, well, it's a fail, right? If you are talented, you're really good at something that you do, and there is a very good market for it as well, but there is no passion for it, it's a lot of people who are stuck in the corporate doing their job because somebody pays them, they are very good at it, they're not passionate, they don't love what they do. So it becomes more of a job, it's boring, so it says you're rich but bored. So you have the money, but you're really bored. Here, if you have the passion and talent, there is no market. Well, you're happy, but you're poor. So these 2 are the opposite. And if you are passionate and there is a market, there is no talent, it's just a dream. So it's going to fail. Yeah? Does this make sense? So this is an exercise that we will do together. So let's go. There's even one step beyond this. But does anybody want to give me examples of, just be spontaneous and tell me in what you're doing or what you're going to do. Go through the 3 filters of, are you passionate about it? Do you have the talent? And is there a market for it? As an entrepreneur, this talent also means that you need to know the A to Z of your business. The marketing, the finance, the fundraising, etc., etc., etc. A lot of things that you need to learn on your own in order to become an entrepreneur. Anybody wants to share any examples for me to make sure that you understood the 3 circles? Volunteers?
You can share the example you have for me.
You can share it.
it's your.
You can share it.
So, Muna, not me. That I do have personally a passion for teaching and passing knowledge. I am very, very good at doing it. I do in marketing, so strategic marketing, anything, selling anything to anybody is my passion. And according to Muna, there is a market for it. So she thinks she's a win. She thinks it's a win.
So, for example, a lot of business ideas, they're really good. They're really good. So there is a market for it, and the person who's going to do it is really good at manifesting that idea and turn it into a reality. But you're not that passionate about it. Because at the end of the day, really, it's not only about the money. Because you're going to go through all of these ups and downs, and if you're not really passionate about what you're going to do, it's going to become, you'll be rich, but you'll be bored. At some point, you feel that you need to do something else as well, to inject that passion. I give you one example about myself as well. Well, we started 4 businesses in the last 7 years, I mentioned that. And I experienced a different feeling towards each and every one of them. When we were doing the Polar Bear and the Mom Sook, I can't say that I didn't love it. I loved them, but one of my biggest passions in life, you have to choose the top 3. One of them is learning. And I attend a lot of courses. I travel to go through these courses, and they're quite expensive. So, for example, when I had to go to London for Tony Robbins, it was an expensive trip. And for Polar Bear and for Mom Sook, they were just a hobby. Yes, I was growing, I was becoming a better person, but I couldn't do anything with what I learned afterwards with Mom Sook and with Polar Bear. But then with Mompreneurs Middle East, I turned this something that I'm very passionate about into something which is a huge asset in our business. So everything now that I learn, I can teach. So now it makes sense for me to invest that $1,000, $2,000, $7,000 into a course, because I know that as soon as I learn it, I can teach it and I make money out of it as well. You see how I turned my passion into something which now it makes sense. Later on, I was really questioning it, like, yeah, I love Tony, but do I need to go to London or not? So what is after? Yes, I'm becoming a better person, etc. It's good to grow, but like there's a limit to how much you want to grow and spend all the time. But then when you say, okay, actually for me to stay on top of my game, I need to, it's not an option anymore.
You have to.
I have to do it for my business. It's actually one of the biggest assets of my business. Now I do them without feeling guilty. So this is how you turn something that you absolutely love into something that can also work in your business. We will do the exercise. Let's do it now. So in the next sheet, you have the first 3 questions. I want you to answer them, not the 4th one. The 4th one we'll do later. The first 3, write 3 things that you're passionate about. And the examples that I gave has nothing to do with your business. It could be dancing, it could be horse riding, it could be eating out, it could be anything. For me, like attending workshops and classes was one of the things that I'm very passionate about. Write 3 things that you're really passionate about, 3 things that you're really good at. So for example, people know you for that, whether it's marketing or networking, or you're a good listener. And then write 3, the top 3 ideas or the products, something that you believe there will be a market for it. So let's answer the first 3 questions, and then I will take you one step even further. The job that I want to apply for, whatever that you want to do from now on in your life, is it really in line with these three? Does it really fall into win? Or is there a missing piece? And what can you do to make sure that's all the time with what you, because the truth of the matter is that whether it's our business or we work for somebody else, most of our time during the day is spent either working on our business idea or somebody else's. So you need to make sure that at least you are in this place for spending the majority of your time and the time that's given to you on planet Earth. I know that a lot of people are stuck in this in this place in the corporate, and we had this conversation with Asma. Lots and lots of people are trapped here. It's a rat race. You know, you get paid more, your expenses go higher, and you just feel that you are in a rat race, running after something which you don't know what it is. So when you take a step back and you say, okay, I'm spending at least 50% of my time on this idea or in a corporate, do I really love it as well? Is there a market for it? Am I going to grow in it? And do I have the talents for it? Anybody wants to share?
Come on, ladies. Let's hear from you.
Where does it go?
For me, the first question is, I also love traveling, reading, and adventure, but that became...
Speak louder, please, so when we record it as well.
My passion is yoga. I'm
Yoga.
spreading love and light through my classes.
Yeah.
So learning and attending courses with the teachers that I like, I choose my teachers and I travel where I have to.
Yeah.
This is the first thing, and then sharing is exactly what you do. I share whatever I learn, I can quickly digest it myself, practice it, and give it back to my class and my students.
Yeah, and I know, for example, a lot of employees are like, oh my God, there's this training somewhere that we have to go. They don't love it. It's either the subject that they don't love or the way that it's organized. And they feel it as something that, oh my God, I have to go through this training for 5 days. But when you actually choose yourself where to go, then you're looking forward to it. When you're packing, you're excited. And when you're there, you're excited. So there's a huge difference, not only about the growth and the content, but your passion as well. Yeah.
For the second question, it's hard to talk about yourself in a good way.
Please, you can.
People, my students tell me I'm compassionate.
Yeah?
My kindness and love is what brings them to the class.
Okay.
And I understand them by listening, and that's somehow it's like trophy for them.
And you have talent in yoga as well. Like if I want to teach yoga, I can't. I don't have that talent. Yes, I have been doing yoga since 2005, but I can't even do it on my own. I have to follow the teacher in front of me. So I don't have that talent. So don't take that for granted. The talents that you have, the fact that you can teach yoga, you know, it's a talent, definitely. And it's the main ingredient in what you do.
Thank you.
And the market?
The market,
Well, we will do market research, but something like yoga, we know that there is market for it. When you have the differentiation, when you know, when you do your marketing right, etc., we know, we are assuming that there is enough market for it, and then the marketing session will tap into that as well. Something else, for example, we had one of the ladies in the last course that she is starting a catering company and a restaurant for people who have food allergies, because she has been suffering from allergies all her life. And this kitchen that she's creating, even all the dairies and nuts, etc., doesn't even come into the kitchen. So it's like super proof, eliminate, she called it eliminate. So she eliminated like 8 things that usually cause allergies. And she was like, I'm not sure what's my talent. I said, you are the talent. You have been suffering from this allergy for like, she was like, am I? I said, yes, if I want to start a company, I have no idea about like what are the pains, what are the needs, etc. You sometimes the challenges that you have personally, they're actually your talent.
Did you start the business already?
She's starting.
She set on the word eliminate.
Yeah.
She shouldn't do that.
Why?
My advice.
Why?
You never market a company with something negative.
She got that comment from a lot of
That's
people.
very serious. She calls it eliminate. She will eliminate consumers with that.
But for me, eliminate is not necessarily something negative. For me, like when you said eliminate, but maybe because she explained that, I thought you eliminate the negative stuff. I
Yeah,
didn't
but
see
I
it.
mean, building a business based on negatives is not the right approach.
But that was her answer as well. This is not negative. Like eliminate, she was saying that eliminate is not a
Is she
negative
gonna
word.
explain it to every person like me in the future? When she becomes big? She
Yeah.
shouldn't have to be apologetic about anything, and a business name has to bring in more people than people wondering what's eliminate. What is it going to eliminate?
There are a lot of things around. Even the word, like in terms of the energy of the words, it makes a huge difference when it is inclusive or not. So, but she had this debate, and she was quite sure that.
A marketing person said
Yeah.
you would rather call it pure than eliminate.
Pure is my chiropractor, which is all of one of the
Whatever
other.
it is, like it's
Yeah.
better to say this. It's a green place rather than it's a pollution-free place, because the brain responds more to positive things that give you hope,
Yeah.
rather than reminding you of the number of negatives that you're trying to get rid of. Just pure psychology with human beings. And for someone who starts a business, they absolutely don't want to make a small hiccup on one
Yeah.
small element that could turn people away.
I'll pass a message to her, but I also know that she has done a proper like market research, and she's very sure that I think the pain when you can't really eat outside or you can't eat at anybody's house, etc. The pain is so strong that, like she was saying, my audience will connect to me. That I have eliminated these from your life. Like my place, you come to it, and I've done it for you. So she has very strong answer to it. But anyways, so Ikigai, who has heard of Ikigai? The Japanese word. So if you don't learn anything in this class, at least you learn a Japanese word. So next time you meet a Japanese person, you tell them, I know Ikigai. So Ikigai is a Japanese word. It takes it one step further. So I didn't want to overwhelm you by showing you the Ikigai from the beginning. A lot of people teach this, and this is good enough. A lot of people are successful by just following this. But Ikigai takes you even one step further. Well, that which you love is your passion. That which you're good at is your talent. That which you can be paid for is your market. Right? Is this clear? They started a new circle with the Ikigai. And this is a huge word in the coaching business and in like people who want to really know why they exist in this world. It says that which the world needs. So this circle goes beyond you and your needs. It talks about what is it in this world that is needed, whether it's environment or women's empowerment or youth's empowerment or self-confidence or whatever that it is, you say, okay, my business, it's great if it's successful. It's great if I'm passionate about it, if I have the talent, if there is a market for it. But at some point you say, okay, am I really doing good? So all of these, for example, energy drinks or soft drinks or fast foods or tobacco, anything, all of these, they're very successful. They're very successful. Like, they're very good at what they're doing. There is a huge market for it. They definitely are passionate about it. Are they doing good? Is it something that the world needs? Not necessarily. So this is the missing link, that it's beyond you and your profits and yourself, and it's me. It's about, okay, we're all going to die someday in 100 years. After I'm gone, what did I leave behind? More people who are addicted to sugar, more people who are living an unhealthy lifestyle, more people, or I have done 1, 2, 3, which is what the world needs.
It's so funny, last time I was in a social dinner with friends, and we were talking about this, the fact that I'm now not working, knowing that people who know me know that I'm a hard worker and I've always been in corporate. And this guy was asking me, what are the drivers? So I actually told him, I'm just thinking, if I die tomorrow, what's my legacy? Like, I really seriously started questioning the sugar and the oil and you know, my background. So he's a very successful guy. Like, he looks at me and he's like, are you joking? Why are you talking about legacy? I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
He's like, not everybody has to have a legacy. I was like, why not? And it was like the most...
It's very selfish.
It's such a heavy conversation. You're like sitting with friends and you're sharing something, and then he's like, really? You want to have a legacy? Why do you have to have a legacy? And I was going to tell him, why do you want to be a loser all your life? You know, I just felt like...
Well, maybe we send him the link to this video so you can tell him.
Yeah, it's so sad glad that people don't think that
Yeah.
each one of us, like you said, can actually contribute, and even if it's a mini legacy, it's
Yeah.
worth giving it a shot rather than
One of the students, Mariam, she's an Emirati lawyer. She will be watching this later. And when I told her I believe in world peace, Mariam said, I don't believe in world peace. And then when I explained to her, I believe in world peace when each and every person will be responsible for their own inner peace. So I'm not going to go and talk about world
Yeah.
peace and say, no. If I started within myself, take responsibility for my own emotions, which we all have ups and downs, and then we take it one step further, the peace in our family, you take it one step further. That's it. If each person takes responsibility for their own peace, inner peace, then we'll have world peace. It's very simple. And that's the message of how can you bring that peace to your life, to your families. So it doesn't have to be a huge thing even. It can be very simple of saying that, you know what, I'm going to leave the legacy behind by being in charge of my own emotions.
something like that. Anything could
Anything, you know, it's kind of like sometimes people think that leaving the legacy is something huge. Or like, no, I'm just responsible. I'm just a responsible person. I'm a responsible person towards my environment. I decided to become vegetarian. That's my take of, you know, whatever that's happening with the animals now as human. That's my responsibility. I'm not asking anybody to do it. I don't judge people. What can I do today that 3 more cows lived longer because of me? And I'm happy. I don't need to do anything else. So the legacy doesn't have to be something huge. It can be something very, very simple, and it's all start with us. And you can think of, okay, I'm not going to expect all of you to build a business that is around what the world needs, but I'm going to, so ikigai, this is the Japanese word. It means a reason for being. In French, it sounds better. We have French. So now you can answer the 4th question. And that is, what is it that you think you can contribute to this world with your business or without your business? Can you do something about the environment? Can you do something about women's empowerment? Can you do something for youth? Can you do what is it that their well-being? The 4th question is more about beyond yourself. It's beyond you and your needs and your business. Can you do something that makes a difference? It's now about your audience. It's about the world. And that's the 4th question that you can answer now.
I have a thing that is inside me that bothers me. What we can do, positive, when you have been time after time in here in Dubai, every time that we move, our thing has been broken, damaged, make holes, etc. And you are saying in very kind way to the person that representative, look, your people did this, broken that, and these people don't want to do anything about it. It's something that go a little on the side of this thing,
Yeah.
but the thing is that we are talking here about love, about what you, etc. When in the case of ours, my husband and me, we have been suffering a lot of different situations in the places that we have been moving, and the people practically change us as our enemies if we wanted to go further and try and do very bad things to us because we wanted to complain or raise something about against that company or something like that. We are the worst enemy, and the most terrible thing is that we are signed as the bad people because we want to complain further.
Is it the company that you work in? Or is it?
No. Nothing to do. It's furniture, moving companies, people that handle all these things. And then you are trying to be very kind. You try to be, but sometimes they don't deserve that you be kind, really.
And here it's not about being kind all the time, or you know, I'm not even talking about your patience, etc. The only thing is, okay, there are situations that happen to all of us. I know Yasmin is dealing with the school now. You know, you're dealing with the moving company. As human beings, we go through ups and downs all the time. First of all, it's how responsible we are towards the way that we react and the way that we answer to that situation. But apart from all of these things that happen in our life, for the rest of the time, you're working on something, right? You're either working on your coaching or you want to back to corporate, etc.
Yeah.
How can you choose? You choose.
How I can change that?
You don't need to change anybody. You know, the day that we realize we don't actually need to change anybody, and all of the situations that come on our way, and all of us, we deal with different situations, we get that wisdom and we grow to be able to react and answer to that situation in a better way. But apart from that, what you choose in your life when you wake up, what to do? Are you choosing a job that you're passionate about, that you're good at, and there is a market for it, and also there is a need? So what can you contribute to the society? Forget about everybody else. Like, if I want to talk about peace, I can give you like 100 examples of other people doing something which is not peaceful, and more than 100. I can go on and on. But what can you do? What can I do to make sure that at least the time that I choose to work on my business, most of the time I have that awareness. And even if it's not going to be all the time in your Ikigai, you have that awareness of how can I finally find my reason for being. This is very, very deep philosophical conversation, and not everybody will get there. But it's very also important, and not everybody has that awareness to know that, okay, there is a reason that I'm on planet Earth, and the reason is beyond me and my own needs. And it's my responsibility to find what that is. And that can be any small act, any small decision can make a difference. This is my father. I was speaking in Iran last month, and for the first time I showed his picture on the stage as well. So it was quite fun. So this is my father, and for the longest time, he's a businesswoman. For the longest time, as far as I remember, he was into textile. And he has his own business, so passionate about it. Like, I still remember all of these colors and fabrics which were in our house. He was always talking about it. He was very good at it. He was working on it from the very young age because his older brothers were also into fabric. So he was working as a 7, 8-year-old in their factory, learning about, so he had the talent. And there was a huge market for it. I mean, the textile industry is huge. So for the longest time, as far as I remember, he was living in his win. And you could see that when somebody is really passionate about what they do. Well, the business didn't go very well in 2004, 2005. He got bankrupt. And that was for him, no, before that, he got bankrupt. And he chose a different business, not a business necessarily, like a different passions. He did something else. We had lands in Iran. So he started, and he went back in Iran. He started, I think now they have like growing 6,000 trees in that farm. And he's very busy with that farm of like, he goes almost every week, and there are many trees and many plants, and we get like these tomatoes from that farm. It's a huge, huge farm. And then last time that I went to Iran, I said, Baba, do you miss that, you know, when you were in the textile? And as far as I remember from the time I was born till like 10 years ago, he was working in a textile. I said, do you miss that? You know, he was traveling a lot, textile, etc. And he told me, Mona, the textile, I loved it, but it was for me and my business and my passion. Now that I know there are 6,000 more trees because of me, it's a feeling that I can't explain. And I'm sure that he didn't go through all of this ikigai, you know, is it your passion, is it your talent? But that was all like, wow, you know, he found his ikigai. So yes, he's passionate about it, he loves it, there's market for it, he's very good at it, but there's also something that the world needs. And he said, Mona, I don't know how long I'm gonna live, but I know that, you know, the time that I'm gone, this is beyond me and my business. This is something that will remain generations after me. So there are some businesses that you can think of and say, when I leave, it's not only even for me and my families and my kids, it's something that, for example, I'm contributing to the environment. And that feeling, when you find it, it's beyond anything that words can explain. And you might not get it with your first business, with your second business, but if you have that awareness, it will come to you. If you take responsibility that this is, yes, I want to contribute into this, it will come to you. So basically, the fourth one is what the world needs that I want you to. We get a lot of people who are looking for jobs. Yeah. Is this clear? Is the example that I gave also? We have been teaching this for some time, but like when last time that I went to Iran, I was talking to you, I was like, wow, this is actually a personal story that I can share. And it resonated very well with me, that people do get into places that they say, okay, my business is beyond me, what I'm doing is for the world. And I strongly believe that entrepreneurs are making the world a better place. As entrepreneurs, I want you to be aware of this. Now we're getting into more of terminologies that I want you to be aware of. There is something which is not for profit, and there are businesses which are for profit. There are businesses which there is no higher purpose, and there are businesses that have that higher purpose. If you are a non-for-profit and you have a higher purpose, you are an NGO or a charity. You are not doing it for money. So this is where the NGOs and charities fall into place. If there is no profit and no higher purpose as well, it's more of a hobby. And I know a lot of people do this. Like I know a lot of women who have loads and loads of money. They just open a salon, more for themselves than anybody else. They just want to have that salon. So it's more of a hobby. Like you don't care how much it brings you. You don't do. It's more of a hobby that you do. No higher purpose and for-profit, these are all the traditional businesses. The social business or social entrepreneur is somebody who is a for-profit, but they also have that higher purpose. Not everybody should be in the social business, and this is the different degrees that I wanted to share with you. If you're a non-for-profit, you're an NGO here, you're completely there for social sustainability, and there is no financial gain out of it. So here are all the non-profits and NGOs. And here are all the traditional and for-profit businesses. So these are the two extremes of the different ways that you can do your business. So these are economically sustainable and they are for-profit as well. You don't necessarily need to be a social entrepreneur only. These are socially conscious decisions. These are the companies that they are traditional, they are for-profit, but they're taking socially conscious decisions. So for example, the t-shirts that they buy, they make sure that these are recycled. They recycle their papers. You take socially conscious decisions. At the very least, in your organizations or in your companies, you can take decisions which are socially conscious. The next step is people who have their CSR or social responsibility businesses. They have like a foundation in their business as well. So you have your for-profit, but you say, okay, I'm going to have a CSR department as well who will do other things which are good for the environment or for the community. Here are the social entrepreneurs, and here are the non-for-profit, but they do generate income. And these are NGOs, they just do fundraising. Is this clear? Yeah? Where do you think you are going to stand, each of you, in your organizations?
I could say that I would like to do the coaching for profit, but also when I finished my the classes of coaching, I had the idea, I create my website,
Yeah.
and I had the idea to one day give a free coaching to people that don't have money to pay.
Yeah, perfect.
And then I got a lot of people that complain against me, and I get out of that group of coaching business.
Why?
I don't know. That
Well,
wasn't hidden.
don't lose hope. There are a lot of, but this is an example of what you can do. Like for example, for us, apart from empowering women, for every person that pays for the course, our aim is to educate somebody who doesn't have
Yeah, I
access.
do many things for that, but sometimes they're misusing this. Really break my heart, but I still continue.
Yeah, and they
Sometimes
say,
I feel like I look like a stupid person because whatever they say, I believe.
Yeah.
If they tell me that
You're trusting.
I had this and that, but later on I find out that they lied.
Yeah.
They wanted to do something else, but they did. They told me that, Mom, I need money. My child is in the hospital. This and that, many stories, and I pay them, and I find out that they are buying
It's not
it for
true.
their boyfriend.
Yeah.
It's like it's really break my heart. But at the end, I said, okay, I did it for God. I
Yeah.
don't want anything with this.
But if you find the system, an organized system, when you can check. So when I was doing this, I actually ran it by a few girls. I told them, this is what I want to do. They said, oh, madam, you're going to be misused. You're gonna be abused.
A lot,
Don't do
yeah.
it. And I said, okay. So it's not about. I'm not gonna be stupid and go give the money, but I would like to pay the school directly. How about that? So
It's better.
I'm not going to give you the money, but if you really give me the grades and this kid is accepted into this school, I will wire the money
Yeah.
to the school. I'm not going to give you the money. So that's education. But if I give you the money,
They don't
sometimes I'll
pay.
give money to my own mother. And I tell her, do this, and then I go home and she did something else. That's my mom. And she's like, it's because I think that it is better. And I'm like, no, but I wanted you to do this. And she's like, but I want to do this. So sometimes human beings, even
Yeah.
if they have intentions, sometimes someone plays with their mind, and so you protect yourself, you still give back.
So the whole point is like, you know, all of you who are sitting here, I know you and you have very good hearts. And when it's in your business as well, we think of these little things that can make a difference, and how can we think even more and more until we have a bigger impact in the world. And we have this luxury as entrepreneurs that even taking small steps will count. It will make a difference in somebody's life. Even if they bought something for their boyfriend, it made the relationship maybe better. You know, you gave it for something else.
Make it up happy at least.
You made them happy at
And
least.
if the boyfriend stole the money, she learned the lesson.
She learned the lesson. Exactly. But it's like not everybody. We were
Go
talking.
with somebody else.
We talked about this with someone yesterday. That some people have that heart, like they're generous. Not everybody has that. And if you have it, embrace it, because I can tell you that a lot of people in this world, they don't have that generosity. So if you have it, even if it gets misused, don't get disappointed. So these are the 3 tests that I want you to do on your own. Promise me you will do.
I think I've done MBTI
Yeah?
a long time ago.
You will have the link to them on the presentation. One is the MBTI personality test. Your business, everything will flourish when you get to know yourself better. And the whole point of this session was, who is Asma? Who is Shireen? What does Yasmin want? What does Blanche want? What does Hoodies want to leave behind? Like, it's about you. Yes, we're going to talk about numbers. We're going to talk about your financial templates. We're going to talk about the financial statements. We'll talk about your marketing strategy. But this is the only session that I wanted to be beyond just your idea and your business. And it's more about you and what you want to leave behind. Who are you? What are your strengths? What are your values? There is a quote that life is not about finding ourselves, about creating ourselves. So all of these tests, when you do them, so these are 3 tests that they help me. Gallup Strengths Finder, this one is free. This one is paid, but I don't remember, maybe $10, $15. So do it.
So it should be fine. That's one massage in Yasmin's spa.
And then identify your values. You have that assignment in front of you, but this link will take you step by step of how to identify your values. So these are the 3 links that then when you click on them, you can get to know yourself better. And the more you know yourself better, the decisions that you make are more in line with who you are. So when you know your why and you know your ikigai, for me, that's you have found your life mission. It's a very sophisticated thing. Every time we sit with other people, they're like, why are we on planet Earth? What's the point of living? Like, why are we here? These are the questions that centuries and centuries human beings have been asking themselves. And I just cracked the code. Ta-da! Here is the truth. But for me, if you know why you do what you do, so you have that strong why, and you find your ikigai, then you at least feel like you have found your life mission. You feel like, okay, when I wake up in the morning, there's a purpose to wake up.
Can it be 2 things? I mean, you know, one of the first thing that comes to my head is my children.
Yeah.
Yes, they're my legacy.
Yeah.
They're, you know, the reason I wake up. But that's not all. So can you have 2?
Definitely. Like, this can be, you know, this can be different things. But your kids are not necessarily, like, when it comes to your ikigai, this is more about what you do, more about the activities that you do. So all of us as mothers, definitely the first role that a lot of us feel is raising good kids.
Yeah.
I'm not going to label many things. So raising good kids, right? And that's what you say, empowered mother raising empowered children. And if that's all we do, that's good enough for us. But if you decide to take it one step further, to do something else as well, then you go to, okay, that's something else that I want to do. That's my ikigai. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4? And is it in line with my why? Yes. That is the reason I am on planet Earth. If somebody comes and said, I'm on planet Earth to raise this person, that's a decision that they take. I don't think that's my only reason for being
So
here.
you can have two. That's what
Yes.
all mothers are. Obviously.
All mothers
They-
exactly.
But can you have another one? And still
Which
be
is more for
successful
you.
at it? Yeah.
Which is more about you. J. Rick Robbins is the son of Tony Robbins. I love what he says. He says, always remember to fall asleep with a dream and wake up with a purpose. It's one of my favorite quotes. And getting to the end of the class, one thing that I want you to think about is how does success look like to you? And what does success mean to you? Because I can come here and talk about success for hours and hours and hours, and it will look completely different to what success means to you based on the things you love, based on the situation that you have, based on your priorities in life. So this is one of the questions in the assignment. I know some of you have to leave earlier, so I'm not going to ask you to necessarily do it here, but there are 5 questions that I've put here for you, which says about what does success mean to you, what legacy you want to leave behind, what's your story, what's your why, and what's your life purpose. And we will get back to this. For those of you who want to do it in the class, you can do it here. And for those of you who want to do it later, you can do it later as well. So I'm just going to go through the presentation, and then we will come back to this as well. Because one thing that Stephen Covey also always says is it's not only about climbing up the ladder. You sometimes climb up the ladder and then you realize that it was leaning towards the wrong building or you're climbing the wrong mountain. So yes, you have achieved it. That makes you an achiever. You achieve a goal. You hit all the targets. You are an achiever. But then you look back and say, my mountain is actually the other one. It wasn't this. Then you have to go all the way down and then climb the other mountain. And a lot of people, we don't even realize that, okay, it was the wrong mountain that we climbed. So it's very important that we define success to ourselves and what it means to us. And this is the video that I want you to watch. How many of you have watched this? Nobody? So you can watch it together. It's a short video, but it's one of my favorites. The business success, the money, all of those things will come as well. And those are the things that we're going to tackle and talk about in the other sessions from now on. We have 2 more assignments. For those of you who want to sit here, you can do it here, but you can do it at home as well. Do you have any questions before we wrap up the class so Blanche can leave?
I'm just asking a question. If you have one day only, what do you have?
Well, probably I will just sit with my kids at home and we might go to Fun City. No, I'm joking. I'll just spend it with my loved ones. If I have one day. So this is a quote by Mark Twain. It says, the 2 most important days in your life are the days you are born and the days you find out why. And finding out why you are born is something that we talked about today. What is your vision is the assignment that I told you about. And thank you and see you next week. Did you have a question, Shirin? No?
Thank you.
Okay, ladies. What do you have a question? Lovely seeing you all, as always. Lovely seeing everyone who's watching live or will watch the recording later on as well. And we will see you next week for the marketing session. For those of you who want to sit, there are 5 questions that I want you to answer. And then the last page of your assignment, I just want you, after everything that you watched today, while it's still fresh in your mind, just write where will your business be in 3 to 5 years. And you can use any technique. You can use mind map, you can draw, you can write. But have a vision of, okay, if somebody comes and tells you, in 3 to 5 years, you can be anywhere that you want, where would it be? Not in terms of location, but in terms of your business. How do you want to grow it? What does success mean to you? What is that vision that you have for yourself and for your company? Again, going back to Joy, Joy knows in 3 to 5 years she wants to have a $1 billion company. That's for her. What is it for you? What is the vision that you have for yourself? Initially, for me, was like having the biggest event company years ago when we just started. Now it's like having that freedom of time, money, and choices. I don't want to do any more of, anything which is related to any kind of a country or a place. So things might change as well. So sit down now and just think about, in 3 to 5 years, what kind of a business do you want to have? What kind of a life do you want to have? And if you have to leave,
It's my challenge always. I want something, I want to have a reason that works.
yeah.
That is what I want. I always sitting thinking, okay, this is the reason. No, it doesn't work. This is the challenge that I have right now, especially with myself. Does it really work? If you spend 20 years on this, at the end, what's going to happen? This is the challenge right now, so I have it. And I say, okay, if I die right now, whatever I did, it's for nothing.
Why do you say
What do
it's
I
for
have to
nothing?
do? What do I have to do that it's worth, even if I die?
Yeah, so every simple thing that we talked about today, even if you know that you bought a motorcycle for a driver, or you bought some boyfriend's present, or whatever that you did, sometimes we don't give ourselves credit. It makes a difference in other people's life. I told you, like, I decided to become vegetarian. 3 cows that I saved, it makes me feel good. I don't need to explain it to anybody. I don't need to do it for anybody. I don't need to judge anybody. These are little steps that you can take that makes you feel good, that you say, okay, I'm actually contributing to the environment. I'm contributing to the growth of my society. I'm contributing to the happiness of somebody else. And these are all the legacies that we are leaving behind, which is sometimes beyond ourselves, and we will forget them as well.